Hi, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're gonna look at IVE, I Am, which is their recent comeback. And I know that I'm a little late to the party, okay? I know, I'm trying to catch up. But when I first heard that song, all I thought about was, this song is incredibly vocally challenging. So today we're gonna look at the studio recording of the song, and then we're gonna look at the live recording from the show It's Live, and we're gonna see how they're gonna do in comparison. So let's go. One thing that I'm not scared for IVE is the visuals. They were always gonna be stunning. Lots of kind of speechy quality and lots of fry. This is something that I noticed that younger groups are recently really leaning into. Tons of fry, which fry for me is very often connected with the more of like a feminine, a little bit more grown-up concepts. So having these really young girl groups using a lot of fry, but in more playful, kind of like a little bit more innocent way, it's new. I really like it. So I'm not expecting from this slide to be belty. I want it to be a lightweight, like slowly mixing on the way up, right? There's a little bit of a fry at the beginning, at the very end, to just anchor it a little bit down. No heavy belting. I want this to be really fluent through the passaggio. Yeah, ugh, this is hard. Let me just dissect it. There was a huge chunk that was mostly in the head voice, even though we've got a little bit of reconnection here and there into head mix, but nothing too heavy. Very soft pre-chorus. The pre-chorus is very lightweight, very soft. But then we've got that's my life, which goes into a very mixy space, but with much more power. It's a tack on the tone, so we're not climbing up to the tone. It goes directly into the tone. So hitting it is gonna be first challenge. Hitting it strong is gonna be second challenge. But also it's really nice because you're jumping right into the register instead of trying to climb up to it. So she's starting more in her head mix, that's my life, and very fronted sound. Since it's starting very high, it has to be clean though. It's gonna have a little bit of a squishy sound. That's my life. A little bit of a squishiness in there, but since their voices are super young and very bright, it's not getting too much of a nasality. This is a very playful rap. It's very simple. We've got a little fry there. We got a little bit of a pitch fluctuation with a little hiccup here and there. This is probably going to have a little bit of an air in it. It's not completely 100% clean. It's going to be interesting to see what they're going to choose for this passage particularly, because you are slowly moving through the mix, slowly moving through the passaggio, and you have to be clear on the technique that you want to use there. That's also doubled voice there, so it's kind of like a first and second voice, which is really giving that passage so much power. It has much more substance and like this kind of shock value into the power of that tone. Because the voices are doubled, there are two people singing at the same time. That high tone is crazy, especially on a live performance. It's gonna be so hard to balance it, and it is very strong for the placement that it is in. So the head mix, if you want to make it pretty substantial, it will always have a little bit less weight as, of course, chest, like a chest belting, and it's also gonna have less weight than, you know, chest mix, which is gonna imitate more of the belty sounds of the chest if you want to make it really full. This is very bright, but the biggest issue and the biggest trick is to hit that tone clean and strong. So a little bit of a roulette there. And definitely also, that is who I am, that's my life. Very difficult high tones, especially if you want to keep it clean, because you could switch in a head voice. That is who I am. But you can hear that it's no substance whatsoever, and they're cleaning it up. So I want to hear that head mix really clean. Oh, this can be really nicely supported, that fire tone, because it's not as high as the rest of the tones. You can always get a solid, supported, simple tone. If you're dancing, if you're moving, if you're doing whatever, you can get that really nice, supported, straight tone. And if it's this kind of a call out feeling like fire or fire, you can get that. You can get it through the speech too. Honestly, the chorus is also very fluctuating. It is mostly probably gonna be touching their chest voice, but it's mostly in a chest mix. It's gonna be interesting to see. So oof. It's gonna be fun. Okay, so there are definitely a couple of points that we would like to see in the live version. I am not expecting one-to-one authenticity. Live singing is very different, live performing is very different, and the studio recording that is heavily processed and heavily mastered, it will never look like a live performance, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to make sure that everything sounds literally the same. There would be completely all magic gone out of it. I want an authentic, fun live performances that sometimes even vary from the original. I don't need it to be a carbon copy of the original. So what we're going to be looking at is mainly the first opening tone to the chorus and how well we're going to be establishing jumping into that tone. Second, I'm going to be looking at the stability of the vocals in the chorus, because it's cutting right through the passaggio, right through the mix. So there are some grounded tones, and there is just a lot of climbing up to chest mix, and then later in a head mix. I think a couple of people are singing in a head voice there, so there's a lot of layers. and I want to see how they're going to hold on. Third, I'm really interested in that pre-chorus. It's very soft. It's a little airy. It's not 100% clean tones, but it is covering a very tricky area where you want to have that support. So if you go very soft, you're kind of losing a lot of potential support of a really nice belty tone. So it's going to be interesting to see. And fourth, I would like to see that one final tone in chorus that is covered actually by two people. So we got two voices in there. I do not know who is exactly there. So we're going to see if it's going to have the same kind of like shocking quality, punchy vibe to that tone that really captivates you the first time you listen to this song. Let's go. It's really difficult to hold the support properly in a very low tones. And this is a trend that I've been noticing in many girl groups, especially if you look at the debut song of La Seraphim, which was so low in the spaces and they moved so much. They struggled with the support there badly. Like the tones can be really low. Also, companies do this on purpose, so they create the biggest possible contrast between the lowest point and the highest point of the song, right? So the highest tones are even more over exaggerated, even they feel even higher in comparison to really low start. But you can get to the same problem that Vonnie has right here. A couple of tones really nicely supported, but in a lot of spaces they were so low that she was kind of barely supporting them with breath, and she did very best with a little bit of a fry. You can help it with a tiny bit of a fry, and there are also other relaxing methods to get to the lower tones, but again, it's very tricky. So on the very, very verge of their range, I would say that this could and should have been at least like a half tone or a tone higher. If you try it at home, I am an alto voice. I'm pretty fine in that space, but even these tones, I would probably be like, let's go higher. This is not where my voice is resonating. This is not where my voice is nicely supported. So the verses a little too low for me and for the girls too. Nice. So they're opting more for the head voice. That's why the air is a little bit more natural there. But they're trying their best to clean it up with the position. So they're kind of pressing it a little bit more towards the front so they can get a little bit of a clarity from that tone. So instead, which would be super airhead voice, they're trying to push it forward. You can still hear a little bit of an air in the background, but the tone is much cleaner. It's a great approach to the thing, actually. I really like it. Good, a good grounding at the very end. I noticed that in the music video that they do their very best to reconnect down at the end of that phrase. She was absolutely in the zone. You can tell that she was prepared for that tone since they start singing. I don't even think she sang before this. So she was literally in the zone, completely ready. Good, very nice mix. A fantastic strategy on her part was that she started in a head voice because it's a repeated pattern, like the previous singer. Still in a head voice, but then she starts to push it more down to that mix. And she get much more clarity as she starts mixing a little bit. So it's a head mix, but it's definitely out of that head voice solely. And then, of course, I mean, this is the first tone right there that we wanted to see. She was already ready. already ready. Since since they got in the constellation a position, she was ready for that tone. So let's hear it. You can see it on the position. She's starting here. A little bit of this phase. So she's already positioning herself to that tone. She knows that she needs to find a stable point where she can lean that tone on. And with this little nose scrunch and concentrating here in the cheeks, she can get a really, really clear fronted tone. And that's my life. Right there. That's my life. You can get a really, it's going to be squishy and it's going to have a little bit of a timbre, but it will be very clear and it's very reliable. So well done. Very well done. So most of this they are putting into their fronted sound, more in a masked singing. They are relying on their frontal resonance. That's my life, and that is how I am. Very in the front. So the stronger singers are anchoring it into that squishy, loud, stable sound, while the rest of them are covering into a more airy head voice, which is creating a nice unisono. I think it's a very solid chorus right there. There was a little bit of a wobble on that sled. I'm not sure what the riff there is exactly. Okay. It was pretty solid with a unisono with her backing track. I got a little confused. I'm not sure why, particularly in this place, we've got the backing track with her. Good. If you listen in comparison, it's obvious that we've got like the middle singer. I'm not sure if that she's their, she looks like their leader. I'm not entirely sure who's the leader, but the middle singer, the strongest one, very, very obviously. She's also had the most confidence and she's being relied on in the really hardest parts. She's also very supportive with her voice of other people in the group, especially during the chorus. But you can hear the difference with him. I'm on my way. In her version and then in the second version of the next singer after her. So the middle one, she's much more anchored. She is still, of course, in a mix. It's not belted, it's lightweight, but it's much cleaner. There's less air and she is leaning more into her chest mix, but a very lightweight. The singer after her is basically just cleaning up her head voice. You can hear the difference in the timbre immediately. The little fry at the very end, I think it's really quirky. I like it. I noticed it in the music video and I thought that they're not gonna actually use it for the live performance, but I'm happy that they did. They're very precise, actually. I said at the beginning, before I started to look at the live version, I said that, hey, I don't want carbon copy, but so far we're pretty close. And I know, before you come for me in the comments, I know that these shows, especially, I think, Dingo, It's Live, couple of different shows, I know that they do have post-production. So this was post-produced, okay? Like there was a little bit of a production on the voice here and there, but you can also hear a lot of quirks, the naturality of the voice in, so I'm happy. So they're just doubling their her voice there. I would swear that it was a different voice of a different member doing the second voice to her. Maybe Maybe that was my fantasy. Maybe that's what I wanted there. I wanted two people to sing that part, like a one tone together, two voices, first and second voice. But apparently when we see it here, it's probably her voice doubled. And with the backing track, it's not that obvious. So we're basically having just her voice coming through, but she's doing very well. It's pretty substantial. I knew about one good singer, like one particularly good singer in IVE, but she's really catching my attention. She's doing really, really well in that tone. And those, I cannot stress it enough, these tones are high. These tones are difficult, very, very difficult. At this point, I think it's even harder than the starting tone. I started with the notion that that one particular tone is the hardest one, and now I'm like, this is very 50-50 between those two tones, and they're both handling it very well. See, this is a placement. When we talked about the first verse and I said that, oh, this is way too low, the voice is just plain not supported, and here is not getting the enough support, it's just too low. And here you have how the good part of her range of that chest voice, how it actually looks like. This is nicely supported, this is fine, it's clear. You can see that the tone is holding on very well, her tone quality is coming through. Yeah. And the same here. I was persuaded that it's gonna be more people singing that fire. You can get there so easily, even at home. Try to do it through the slide. You can do it. You can try it at home. Try to push the sound really towards the back of your throat, right here in a little pocket. It's a fun thing. It's not really that difficult. Chest mix is really fun to work with once you have a good teacher. I really wanted more people really go fire. Well done. This little girl stealing my heart. Look at her. That was such a great chest mix. It was imitating the belt beautifully. It had a great placement. It was vibrant and it was so nicely supported. Listen. I would give everything to have the duet between the central singer and the one that I'm just praising. They would absolutely kill it. So they're doing great. Well, I have to say one thing. You can always notice if the singer is stressing out. And with this amount of high tones, and I know that they are professionals and I know that they are trained and everything, but especially for live performances where you know that you do not have a lot of support, and this whole channel is mostly about showcasing how their live vocals are gonna sound, I would be nervous, and they looked very confident. And I personally realized how carefully actually this song is crafted for them to handle it. Outside of that really low flat tones at the very beginning that had no color, they were very, very low build. Again, I understand that you want to create as much contrast as possible, but that ain't it. So if I could, I would just chop that off, because that is just like, why? I'm not really happy when I see companies forcing their idols to go to very vocal extremes, because at the end of the day, these are the songs that will be performed. They will go on a tour, they will be on festivals that will not have a lot of post-production, and that will be much more cleaner when it comes to any mistake. Like, it's gonna showcase immediately. So they will be performing this live. They can make mistakes. You need to be careful about that. But with that being said, I really have to say that they've practiced this song to damn near perfection. The parts are distributed very, very carefully, making sure that the singer who's singing that part can handle that. So there are very obviously two people who are heavily standing out, which are these two beautiful girls. They are standing out probably the most. They were carrying the heavy load of this performance. They were carrying the heavy load. Great singers that are very comfortable in their mix. They're very comfortable with moving across their passaggio. They have really nice support. They have good resistance and overall very confident. I'm basically mostly coming from their confidence in singing of those tones and how much they had to rehearse this. But honestly, I could see how much of a mess it had to be when they got that song, because there are so many really tricky parts where you have to know exactly what to do. Like, you have to train for them particularly. I really thought I'm gonna be very critical. I was like, listen, I was psyching myself up. I was like, I will be really critical. I will not hold back whatsoever. And yeah, if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to subscribe right here. Here is the video that YouTube actually recommends for you, and here is rest of my Korean reactions. Please stay safe and healthy. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.